Hello and welcome to the All In Podcast with Bad Beat Bryce and Ryan the Rock. It's been a while, Ryan. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing really well. It's good. It feels good to be back in the saddle. Like you said, I've been off for 2 weeks now. We've had our own interesting situations over the course of the last 2 weeks. And geez, you're in Texas now, man.
It's
colder
crazy.
There than it is here where I'm at in the Northeast.
Yeah,
right?
It's nuts. So after a 5-week road trip, I finally made it to Texas. Finally got to experience some Texas poker live, and I have experienced the worst Texas weather they've had in forever.
Yeah,
really. My power has been in and out for days. Didn't have power for a full day. Got down to like 20 degrees in my house. Just blankets on blankets. Thankfully, I have power and was able to do this interview. Very excited about it. Very excited to discuss what's been going on in the poker community, talk about my recent deep run tournament, and to interview our great guest today.
Yeah, and before we get into all of that, be sure to just take a quick second, go right down below this video and hit the like and subscribe buttons for us. It really, really helps. I think we're just 7 subscribers away from 200. So please, find it in your hearts to spend $0.00 and just click on that subscribe button for us. We'd appreciate it. But to kick things off, Bryce, I want to back you up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that MTT you were in.
So at the Prime Social, they were running a only $300, $150K guaranteed tournament. It smashed the guarantee, and it ended up being about $250K. Wow. Day one went pretty smoothly. I had pretty good chips all day and ended up bagging about 12th out of 16th out of like a 220 person flight. And then day one also, my table draw was literally the softest table I have ever played on. Like limp after limp after limp. Like I was just like, what is happening?
I've never played in a multi-day tournament, so you're gonna have to fill me in a little bit. On day one, how often do they change tables? How often?
Yes. So you normally don't go down to like 6-handed on day one. You'll play to 7 or sometimes 6, but then they'll just switch tables once you're able to fill a new table. Obviously, I don't really know how to explain it better than that. But you play down to the top 8% for day 2, and the top 12%, I believe, cashed for this. So some people who didn't make day cashed. But yeah, I was happy about some folds I made. Made some really big folds, and I made some sick hero calls. I called with like 4th pair on day 1 for essentially my whole stack. His line just didn't make sense. I folded jacks pre-flop. I folded 10s pre-flop twice. Obviously, I'm not even going into the specifics of player position, but I made correct folds. Yeah, exactly.
Hands, yes.
And yeah, on day 1, I did get all in right before in the money with Ace King versus Ace King. And on the flop, he got 2 hearts. He had Ace King off, but turn, thankfully, it was not a sweat. But anyways, day 2 were some really tough players. There's some big name players who have hundreds of thousands, near $1 million in cashes that I was sitting next to. And I think I played really well. We've got one hand to go over later, and obviously hurt a little bit to lose queens versus king queen off. But again, it was only for 10 bigs, and it was cut off he was cut off on a small blind. So very, very, very standard of him to call there, obviously, but stung nonetheless. But yeah,
these are brutal like that, man. Unlike in cross country before, where if you finish 22nd, you'd be like, all right, like that's at a 1200, like good Lord. In MTTs, it's just that slight bit of disappointment because you only got 4 or 5 buy-ins out of it.
So a little more than that, but about 5 or 6. But it didn't really hurt the position. And looking back, I definitely feel good about it. I mean, I finished in like the top 1% or whatever, but it was just the way it happened. If I had lost like ace 3 offsuit to 10s or whatever it may be, I would have been like, okay, GG. But it was just being so close to the final streamed tape, final 9, or just big bank. But whatever, we'll get them next time. There's $1,100 one I'm excited to fire in about 10 days. So that should be good. Stay tuned on my Instagram stories for that. And I also got to meet one of my students, which was nice. Shout out to Trent. Excited to grind with you soon. And Anana Fish flaked on me, even though he said he was going to eat me. But anyways, getting on a little tangent. Let's get back into the poker world.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were just talking before the show about the end of the Doug Polk, Daniel Negreanu heads-up match. Obviously, 1.2 million win for Doug Polk, which didn't come as a shock to many people. But what it has happened is that it's really caused this fun splinter off where a lot of people are challenging other people to more heads-up matches. And I saw that Landon Tice, so he's going to pay.
Ben CB, right?
No, Landon Tice is going to play Phil Perkins.
Easy. I would play Bill Perkins in a heartbeat. Any stake.
No, listen to this, Bryce. He's going to pay him 9 big blinds per 100 hands. So before the match even starts, I think they're still playing 200, 400. So my math could be off, but over the course of the 25,000 hands, that means he's going to pay him $750,000. So he's starting effectively down $750,000. That's how confident Landon Tice is in winning this. And now I see your face, and I'm thinking to myself, even over the course of a sample size,
he's gonna win. No doubt in my mind, he wins. Literally 0 doubt. But like, that's a pretty hefty. If it was like straight up, if it's to come back and beat the 750K, but just to win outright, I would take insane odds. Like he's going to win. He's a good player.
He's giving him 750K at the front. He's paying him 9 big blinds per hour. So it's not like he's giving him 750K and starting down that much.
Oh, exactly. It's been interesting. I've recently been watching, I think it was old episodes of High Stakes Poker on Poker or whatever. But dude, Bill Perkins is just such a fish, man. Like, I mean, he's got the money. He wants to die with 0, and playing poker is a good way to do that for him. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like he's gotten better with years and age and experience. And I feel like if you asked him that question about him being on High Stakes Poker, he'd be like, yeah, there's a lot of plays that in hindsight he would say were fishy. But I don't know, man. I think 750,000 is quite the hill to climb. But we've seen it done, even though it didn't start out that way with Doug Polk, Daniel Negreanu. And I think that the edge here is just as big, if not bigger. So I agree with you.
Oh, I think it's probably bigger. I know you're not much of a Twitter guy, but Landon's gotten some shit basically about just flexing a lot. And I honestly don't see too much wrong with it. I think it does way more good than bad for the poker community. I think it brings in a lot of young people. I mean, the guy dropped out of college and was being staked and playing micro stakes and rose in stakes at an insane level. And the first MTT tournament he won, he banked for like $80,000. Like, I think that gets these recs. I mean, hopefully these recs study for their own sake. But I mean, it's going to bring people into the game who I think aren't very, and just bring people into the game in general. So if this guy wants to just talk himself up a little bit, I mean, to me, it's a little rightfully deserved. Like, and he also he's transparent about his losses as well. He's like, oh, I played like 8K in binds today and bricked them all. Like, it's not like he's only showing the good. So I kind of disagree with his critics. I'm a Landon Tice fan personally. And I think the fact that he's gotten so close to the Matt Berkeys, to the Joey Ingrams, I envy him. And I think he's going to be very successful. And hopefully for his sake, he doesn't get crushed, because it sounds like he's paid a hefty price to Bill. But.
So I think we should transition on now. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, and I'll get to introduce her. So this week on the All In Poker podcast, we have the first of 2 coaches from Poker Powher who we're partnering with for Women's Month. Abby Merk is a junior philosophy and mathematics major at Wake Forest University, where she's also a club soccer player, sorority sister, and member of the Bob Ross Art Club. She's been working with Poker Powher for the last year, starting as an ambassador before becoming a collegiate brand ambassador and now a poker coach. We are so excited to be welcoming Abby Merk to the podcast today.
Welcome, Abby.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So,
yeah, of course, excited to have you.
Look like a dorm room. Is Wake Forest kicked you out from the dorms?
No, actually, it's kind of funny. The COVID cases there were rising pretty quick. And so I decided to hedge my bets, cut my losses, and get the heck out of there before they kicked me out. So I'm at home right now in Chicago. But
were you right in the end? Have they already booted the kids out, or has it not happened yet?
It hasn't quite happened yet. So essentially right now they're in a state of lockdown where no one's allowed to leave campus. They're enforcing a 10 p.m. curfew that could get you a conduct violation if you're not careful. And they're essentially getting everyone in trouble that they can. So in a way, it was better to leave, but at the same time, I do miss it there. Of course, I'm paying enough money to be there. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Home. We totally
So-
hear that.
Are you in your junior or senior year currently there?
I'm in my junior year right now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to hear about your poker story. Ryan, do you want to kick us off with the first question?
Yeah. Well, I have to get things started with the Bob Ross Art Club. I'm
Of
a
course.
massive fan. I have 2 Bob Ross board games in my house.
Oh my gosh, yes.
His painting show got me through college. So what is this club about? Obviously, it's something outside of poker, but I am really curious.
Yeah, so essentially we are a club. We just make art together on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So for 2 hours, they'll always have a Bob Ross video streaming. So even if you're horrible at art, like there is something to follow and something to learn from. Or you could say, screw it and make your own stuff. So it's just really awesome. It's a good way for me to unwind. If I'm not playing poker, I'm making art. So it's really, really fun.
So nice. I love that.
That's awesome.
My girlfriend and I we'd love to do crafts, and we recently got a lot of painting stuff. We haven't really gotten into it yet. So I think we're going to start by doing a Bob Ross like paint along.
Yeah, I had no idea about you, Ryan, that you enjoyed that. So this is
yeah, man, art's cool.
It's awesome. Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey with Poker Powher? In just 1 year, you've had 3 positions, each with, it sounds like, a little more responsibilities than the last. How has that been for you during the pandemic?
Absolutely, yeah. So initially I got started by just starting my own club. I've always been really interested in poker, but it wasn't really something that was ever presented to me like as a female. It just wasn't something that I guess people assumed that we could do. So it was never presented to me. And one of my friends actually like introduced me to Poker Powher, and that's how I got involved. So I made a club with my friends. Where we learned from one of my personal mentors to this day. Her name's Sarah Steffen. Shout out Sarah. She's amazing. And under her tutelage, basically, I just fell in love with the game. I got absolutely addicted, started reading, studying game theory optimal, like the works. I mean, I was doing it all. And so when they actually came out with another position, the collegiate brand ambassador position that you had mentioned, I felt like it was only natural to continue to be involved. And so through that, I started to work with Poker Powher. They were just starting out their company. They were learning a lot, doing a lot, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I really wanted to get involved in the poker world as much as possible. And this was an amazing way to do that. So after that was like a summer internship for me. After that, when that ended and I started to go back to school, I kind of was at a crossroads of what do I do? Do I continue to do this, or is this just going to be like a hobby? And at that point, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. Like this game is something that I absolutely love, and I want to share my passion for that with other women, honestly, and get them playing a game that's traditionally dominated by men. So I decided to become a poker teacher with Poker Powher, and my skills at that point were at the point where I was good enough to do so, I guess. Shout out to Melanie Weisner, professional poker player, for that one. She definitely helped me a lot along the way. But yeah, so then here I am today.
That's so
awesome.
What were those materials that you were using when you were studying? You said you were reading up about GTO.
Yeah, so essentially everything. One thing that's really amazing about the Poker Powher curriculum is that it's really all encompassing. So they go over everything from hand rankings to pot odds, like the works. And so I really started, at first when I was starting out, I just started memorizing those PowerPoints. They do send out handouts with all the important information, so you can really like dive into their material. And from there, I think it was really, really, really helpful for me to just watch a ton of poker on YouTube. Whenever like the World Series of Poker, the WPT, whatever it was on TV, I was always watching that. Whenever I heard something mentioned that I didn't know, like initially I didn't even know what like expected value was. I was Googling it. I was studying it. I was, trying to like get myself out of position where I could basically announce it. So that's kind of where I went. But yeah.
So Ryan kind of hates this question, and I didn't have it written down. But how exactly, like, did you get started? I know you talk about this passion, and you talking about just grabbing the position. But when did you exactly like hear about poker? Like, how'd you get involved in it?
Yeah, so when I was younger, actually, it's a great question because I think it will be a little bit different just because I am a woman. When I was younger, I would always see my dad and his friends play poker together on like Friday nights. And I was too young to really, get into it. And I was way too young to be ever allowed to sit at the table. But I was always curious about it. And I think that really helped because then I started to wonder at a certain age, why haven't I done anything with this? Like, why have I not pursued this? Like, I've shown the curiosity, I've been exposed to it. Why have I not done this? And I think the answer to that question after a lot of time is that as women, like, we are not exposed to the same things that men are. Like, my male equivalents at that point where I started questioning were already game theory optimal, like, experts, like, at that same time. And so I was definitely late to the game, but I think just seeing it on TV and being fascinated with it through my dad was really where that interest sparked for me.
That's awesome. You want the next question, Ryan?
Yeah. So as a mathematics major, was it the love of the math that made you come back to it, or was it just this watching your dad doing it? Because now you're a major in mathematics, so I assume that helps a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a combination of both. One thing that makes poker so special is that it really is a combination of like right brain and left brain skills. And I think the like combination of my love for math and like my love for like essentially what became pot odds. I didn't know it at the time, but it really was like equity percentages, expected value, like pot odds, things like that sparked that interest. But the other part of it is like reading people. It's a social game too. Like, there are so many aspects that you just can't. You could be the top of your math class. You can understand every mathematical concept in poker and lose so much money because it is just such a two-way street. So I think it was the combination of both of those things that really piqued my interest and made this an unforgettable game for me.
That really sounded like a philosophy major's answer too.
Yeah.
Right brain and left brain. I was like, oh boy, I know where she's going here.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely sounds like you're incredibly passionate about the game. But we kind of talked about this in our pre-interview. But how do you think being a woman in poker has affected your table image and experience? We talked about kind of both how you're treated differently and hit on a bit at the table. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So as a woman, males traditionally think that I will play passively. And that is not the case. Not to give too much of my strategy away, but I'm not afraid to 3-bet. Like, I am not afraid to open raise. I'm not afraid to do it. I'm almost never limping in. Like, there is never really a situation where I play passively initially. Like, I'm always changing my strategy, but I'm not afraid to go for it. And I think
you should give Ryan some lessons.
But I think that's really helped me because when men have this expectation of you and like how you play, I get away with some bluffs that I probably wouldn't if I was a guy. I also, like, you brought it up a little bit earlier about the flirting, but they see a 20-year-old blonde female and they're like, ooh, something to make this 9-hour tournament a little more fun, And so
do they say that?
No, but it's they don't
have creeps, I'm sure.
Oh, I believe it. I can see a lot of creeps at the casino. I am not surprised.
For sure, yeah. And they think, like, on the counter of that, like, if I lose, they're questioning my authority or my intelligence with the game. But if I win, I'm getting cursed out of the like table. So
you must just be lucky. So
exactly.
So lucky.
So Abby, I've been trying to convince my girlfriend. I told her that I would buy her into an MTT, like a little, like a one-dayer at like an MGM when the pandemic ends. How do you think I can convince her to actually take my money and go play in the MTT? Should I just get her on Poker Powher? What should I do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would tell her to sign up with Poker Powher because honestly, we have such an all-encompassing curriculum that she will be absolutely ready to walk into a casino, walk into a friend game, whatever it might be, play some online, online poker, whatever it might be, she will be ready by the end of our curriculum. And we cannot emphasize this enough. Like, the only thing that we would need from her is like the confidence to sign up, because once she's done that, like we will do the rest. And like Poker Powher is so amazing because by the end of it, you're developing skills that you like don't even think about, like your confidence, your decision making, your money management, your risk assessment, like all of these skills that you just don't work elsewhere. So if she's ever interested, I'd be happy to teach her. I'd love to get some insight on your game.
Yes. She plays me. She will sometimes regrettably play me heads up because I haven't been able to play any live, and I just want to like hold chips and play against somebody. And you know, it's like a little sit and go where we raise the blinds every 10 minutes or so, and she's beaten me twice, and she's very
I've seen her Instagram post, Ryan.
Yeah, where she beat us.
I know you're not necessarily the best heads up player, but she didn't even know how to play.
Yeah, at the beginning, she's pretty good now. Okay,
that's awesome.
I love it.
Awesome, good to hear. But anyways, what is the mission? I know you've discussed it a lot, and how do you see the mission of Poker Powher, and what do you see as your role in achieving that goal?
Yeah, so I know that the mission of Poker Powher is to get 1 million women playing poker. Right now, only 4% of all poker players in the world are women, and we're looking to change that. Yeah, we are looking to increase that number and get every woman a seat at the table. And I think it's really crucial because, like, for me to not only be spreading that mission, and for all the viewers out there, absolutely sign up for a club. We teach everyone that identifies as a woman, and we really want to get you at the table. We really want to get you playing. We really want to play against you. So, and I think like just being a teacher, I hope I can, my hope is that my passion comes off and I can get people as interested as me. And hopefully this will be something that they stick with, because I think that the skills you learn from it are just invaluable.
I completely 1,000,000% agree with that. And I think, not to roast you on stream, Ryan, but I think one of the most difficult things about poker is just the mental and emotional side of the game. 100%. And I honestly think the downswings and just getting the shit kicked out of you is so good for you. Like if the smallest thing happens, like literally if I get a flat tire or if something goes wrong at work or whatever it is, like I'm like, I don't care. Like I've gotten one outed in like $4,000 pots. Like it's fine.
That is so funny. I've never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. That is kind of numbed me to those little pains in life where it's like, all right, well, this is just happening. That's fine. I can't change it. It's those things that you can't change. And like, that's the most frustrating part about poker, is that there's that bit of chance that you cannot change no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an amazing game, and I think a lot of it translates to life. Well said. Do you want the next question, Ryan?
Yeah, so just to close out here before we go into the hand histories,
sure.
I know in a year, the answer to this will probably be different, but what do you see as what you're going to do in a year from now when you graduate, and do you think you'll still be playing poker in a year?
Yeah, okay, so actually this brings me to my, like, I guess, perfect introduction. So you're talking about going on tilt and like talking about managing your emotions after literally a bad beat. Nothing you could have done differently, cannot change the outcome. They had the nuts, right? I'm addicted to that concept. I am just absolutely addicted to the whole concept of resulting. So resulting is essentially when there, quite simply, is nothing you could have done differently. You lose, and you gotta like not focus on the result so much as the quality of your decisions. I have been addicted to that for many years, and I think poker has been a great outlet for that. So I think I absolutely will be playing in a year. But that being said, I've also been super, I guess my next question for myself, like within my personal growth and my personal journey, was what can I do with all these skills I've learned? Poker is so translatable to the business world. How can I put myself in a position that through poker, like I'm essentially playing poker in the business world, is essentially what I'm trying to say. And the next step for me was trading. So I applied a couple months ago and I ended up getting the position, but I will be a trader, an incoming trading associate. No, sorry.
Analyst?
What?
Is it analyst, trading analyst?
No, sorry. So I'm actually just doing an internship this summer, but my goal is to become a trading associate at Peak 6 Investments. So this upcoming summer, I'm going to be doing their the trading experience for women. And then hopefully if I do well on that, which I mean, my whole life has kind of been like leading up to this, I kind of see it like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully if I do well at that, I'm going to give it my all, and I hopefully can pursue becoming the actual trading associate, as you kind of said. So
Are they going to get you any of the series exams? I have like my 6 and 63. I know
Yeah, Ryan, she doesn't know who she's talking about. We are very much business minds.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe she does know. Did you know? Are they going to give you the certifications to actually trade while you're interning, or not yet?
not well, I don't think it's while you're interning, but
Yeah.
when you're through your first year as a trading associate, you will get that qualification by the end of the summer. And then you actually, like, through Peak 6, it's really, really special, but you're opening your own, they trust you, like, opening your own portfolio, your own book, like, the first year.
That's awesome.
So it's really, I mean, talk about taking a leap of faith in someone, like hedging your bet with someone. It's really, really special the way they do it, but just everything they do is so intelligent, and like, I don't know. I just have no doubt that under their training, I will be prepared. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, Ryan, I didn't mean she wouldn't know. I meant she doesn't know who she's talking to necessarily, in the sense that you worked for Mass Mutual. We both majored in business, and I took like portfolio management in college, which was an awesome course. They like gave us a part of the school's endowment. But yeah, would love to talk stocks and just investments and all that stuff with you sometime. But that definitely sounds like a good career path. And hopefully you do. I have faith that you'll continue poker as well. Do you think that in addition to coaching and just trying to get the word out about poker, that you think you'll create your own content at some point?
Ooh.
I hope so, honestly, because right now, so obviously I'm trying to push the message, and I think Poker Powher, I've just been absolutely in love with the company. I really align with their mission and their values and like what they're trying to do. I think that's a really good question, honestly. Like, I haven't really thought about it, because
you'd be amazed how easy it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think right now, actually, I'm going to change that answer. I think right now, I think that the instruction that Poker Powher gives is so valuable that I wouldn't change really anything they're doing, and therefore wouldn't really divert from that at all. Perhaps in the future, but I really, really believe in Poker Powher's mission, and I wholeheartedly support all of the things, all of the materials that they're giving to their students. So I really can't say that as of right now, I would be able to offer anything that they don't. They're even doing like private tutoring with poker professionals. Like, I mean, it's so amazing. And I highly encourage anyone watching to give at least their website a quick look, because it's just really, really special.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I definitely encourage you to produce your own content, even if it's not necessarily a study course, whether it be you going to a casino. Like, there's so many up and coming vloggers, whether it be Poker Ash or WinoPoker putting out material, or Marley. There's Queen of Felt. There's a lot of good content out there, and people seem to love it. But we have one of your hand histories we'd love to go into. But before we do, I'm personally interested. Who do you think? I know you mentioned how your teachers are role models, but if you had to name one or two female poker players, who would be your favorites?
I think my all-time favorite poker player, she's one of the mentors that I had brought up from before, but Melanie Weisner is one of the people that I absolutely look up to. I think she is so good at doing exactly what she needs to do. She does not worry about like all of the pressures that come with being a female at a casino. She does not worry about that. She is confident in what she does, and she's been really successful because of it. Another woman poker player that I look up to is Maria Ho. I'm sure you recognize that name. She's amazing. And through like the Poker Go app, I haven't been fortunate enough to meet her like I have met Melanie, but through like Poker Go, I've listened to some of her hand histories and like some tough calls she's made. And I just aspire to have that level of confidence one day. Like, she is truly an inspiration. And I think she's such a great role model for women all over. So
yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for the interview portion. We're excited to dive into one of your hand histories.
Boom.
Yeah.
Here we are. So what event are we playing in here, by the way?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
What event are we playing in here?
Yeah. So I'm actually only 20 right now. Unfortunately, I cannot go to casinos. But this was in a community charity event. So it was like an $120 buy-in. You got, I'm not quite sure actually the starting chip amount, but at this point I had 150 big blinds left. I was relatively deep stacked halfway through the tournament. I'd done the add-on right, so did everyone else. So we were pretty much into the meat of the tournament, and this was a really important hand because it kind of dictated not only chip leader, but he essentially almost, as you'll see at the end, it dictated my tournament life too. So it was a really important hand for me.
Cool. So let's get into it with that context.
Yeah.
Action folds around, I believe, right to you.
Mm-hmm.
And here you make what I believe pretty standard open. It's 3 big blinds. Blind v blind with 9s. I don't see any issue here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you ever limp from the small blind in MTTs, or do you have 100% raise? Because I'm a 100% raiser from the blinds, but I know some people have a mixed strategy here.
I think me too. So I want value for a good hand here, but I'm also not terribly worried about a fold because I am still picking up a big blind, which just like adds to my stack, right? Also, I know like through defending the big blind strategy, he can call me with some off hands that with a continuation bet I'll beat. So maximizing value hands for me here, I'm okay with the open raise. Yeah.
Bryce, do you ever
I do. It probably about 95% of the time I'm raising. But if the blinds are massive, and especially if there's ICM pressure, I think you can limp with a hand like I don't even know, Queen 8 suited or something that you just don't want to put in massive amounts of money, but you are willing to even call a 2.5x raise or whatever it may be. So I think it is a mistake if you're 100% of the time always raising, because then if they raise you off, you just punch in some more money. But yeah, I think this is totally fine. Mm-hmm. I'm interested, and I think you mentioned how you adjust a ton. So was this table standard opening size about this, and were you sizing up, obviously being out of position? Like were people typically opening 2.5, or what was the table dynamic at this point?
So the traditional raise size was the 3x raise. I really didn't see any limpers because I was playing with pretty aggressive older guys. That was just like the demographic of people I was playing with. The player to my left, though, actually was a pretty loose, aggressive player. So I knew that I could kind of get away with a 3x raise. And then if he didn't hit on the flop, like he tightened it up after the flop. But like starting hand wise, he definitely was like a loose, aggressive player. And I'd been playing with him all day. So I kind of had a good read on what I thought he would do in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
3x is fine. We just wanted to get a little more back.
And got a lot of context, which is good. 10-7-4 on the flop here.
So assuming we elect c-bet, what kind of sizing are we looking to do here?
So here I was looking at relatively like 60% of the pot. I wanted to, as I said, like my traditional like c-bet range is like 60 to 75% of the pot, 50 to 75, depending on like how I kind of felt about the other play, those other factors that you kind of mentioned. But here I went forward with the 60% bet. I felt pretty good about my pocket nines at this point. Obviously, the board is rainbow, so I'm not worried about like any flush draws that he might have. The only thing he could have that would really beat me at this point is a 10, because even if he had like a straight draw, he might not be calling that, So like, and especially too, like if you had a straight draw, it's nothing yet. Like I still have a pocket pair, which is number one, easily conceivable, or concealable. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like,
we knew what you meant.
And so I kind of definitely wanted to get some value here if he's going to call, but keep my raise sizes aggressive.
Yeah, I think in blind v blind that makes a lot of sense. He has a lot of 7x. He has a lot of 4x. He can have some 10x here, but there's plenty to get value from.
Yeah.
I don't know, on a board this dry, blind v blind, I feel like this is fine. But if this were like 2 late position players, maybe you want to be a little bit smaller here with your sizing. But given that you're blind versus blind and that both of your ranges interact a lot with this board, I think 60% is great.
Yeah, personally, I'd probably look to go a little bit smaller because it is pretty dry. And also you mentioned his potential straight draw, and we also block that with having 9s. But I would probably personally go like 40 to maybe even 50%. But I think it's okay because you mentioned he's an aggressive player. Yeah. So if he had a hand like ace-6, he could just be floating with ace-high. And going bigger either prices him out or as a donkey just makes him call. And I completely agree with the fact we're ahead here the vast majority of the time. I think it's a little big, but I think it's fine.
Yeah. We get just a call from villain. Turn comes a jack.
Yeah, and I think this jack was especially scary, not scary because now there's obviously like if he had a jack, like a, jack two, whatever he's like defending the big blind with, like he could have hit that. Also, not to mention if he had had the straight draw that we had mentioned before with like the 8-9, that would have completed for him. But again, unlikely because I do hold blockers for that. So I'm not terribly worried about the straight. Does open up a backdoor flush draw, but again, I don't really think he would be calling. Like, you're just risking a lot of chips, like with a 4% chance of hitting a runner flush,
Right.
So it's unlikely that he would have clubs here too. So at this point, I decided to bet again. I was fairly confident that I still had the best hand. I bet, and then he ended up calling. I mean, as you'll see.
Right.
But
I like this sizing. I think that it brought in the flush draw and also is a little wetter of a board. It is definitely very good. We double block the straight. I don't expect him to have 8-9 very often here, as there are very few combos. But yeah, I agree with your decision to continue betting. I think you mentioned Jack Deuce. I don't see Jack Deuce floating the flop often at all, but he very much could have Jack 8, Jack 9 that also has some backdoor straight equity. So a Jack obviously is pretty good for his range, but at the same time, we do pick up the gutter. I think betting here is the move to continue the aggression, as we can still rep just a ton of things. There's just a ton of things we can rep here. So I like the bet, and hopefully he just puts in the call, because if he puts in the raise, I'd say it's a pretty easy fold, but I think you already said he called. So
now, if the situation occurs where you just like brick out on the river, are you thinking about going 3 streets with this hand here because you hold the double blockers to the straight, or are you thinking about shutting it down?
Yeah, so if he's calling me on the turn, he's calling me on the flop and the turn, and then I get to the river and like it bricks out, like as you had mentioned, the quality of my hand hasn't changed, but neither has the quality of his. So at that point, I would kind of think about a check, because again, I'm not really sure what line he would take here that like his story would make sense. Like I don't know what line he would take that he wouldn't call on the river,
Yeah.
So like it just doesn't, like it wouldn't make sense. So I would think about a check there, just because if he's calling the turn, like I don't see his hand strength changing enough to continue like to call. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And
I think it's so river dependent. I don't even know if I'd have an exact plan for exactly what card's going to come out. I think this is a board where I would probably wing it. I mean, obviously we have an idea and we think we're ahead. And if we expect him to have a jack here, he might be raising. But yeah. Let's see a river. I like the logic though. So it bricks out.
Essentially, yeah. The river ends up breaking out.
5-6 gets there, but yeah.
Yeah. So the river is like not terribly influential in my hand strength. I'm assuming that given like what I had kind of put him on, this doesn't help his hand tremendously either. I didn't really see him with like 5-6 just because. I don't know, like
for him to call flop, call turn with 5-6 without a draw, like a club draw there. Yeah.
Right. But there are definitely like straight draws out there that are potentially worrisome. But like with my blockers, I'm not feeling too confident that I have the best hand anymore since with the calls. So I ended up electing for a check here. And then as you'll see, he ends up putting in a huge bet. Yeah. And so at this point, I was pretty concerned. It's definitely a big hand that he was calling throughout, maybe putting me on an aggressive player. So he was hoping that he would get value from my aggression. And that was something I definitely had to think about, because in poker, you're not only thinking about like, what do I have? What do my opponent have? But it's also like, what type of player is my opponent, and what type of player does my opponent think that I am?
Yeah.
So, definitely a lot to think about. So at this point, when I'm thinking about this decision, I'm thinking about what can I do? Like I'm looking at other things essentially. Like I'm not looking at really like, what do I have? What does he have anymore? I'm looking at everything else besides that. And this is where tells became super important for me. So this player that I was playing against, I had been playing with for many hours. We were at the same table. We drew the same table from the beginning, and we happened to stay together the entire time. He had position on me, right? He knew it, but this was a player that absolutely was one of those like examples. Like he was talking to me the entire 9 hours. Like this man would not go a hand without offering me some input or some piece of advice, or even going so far as being like during the breaks, he's like, so like where are you from? Like where, let's talk poker more. Like give me your number, like that type of thing.
Oh
and
no.
Chatty player. And throughout this whole hand, I started to realize that he had fallen absolutely silent. Like the entire time he was the player, he had his glasses on, he had earphones in, and now he had one earphone out and his glasses were down. And he's looking at me like to his right. He's looking at me like, staying still as he should, hopefully not trying to give away too much. But as I was thinking about a fold here, I'm like trying to fact gather like what his tells are telling me. And something just like it didn't feel right about this situation. Like he definitely looked uneasy. He looked nervous about it. And with this like overbet, it was just so aggressive that like, I was like, he's got to be kidding me, right? Like he's got to be kidding me. Like if he had the nuts, he'd be betting for value here. Like he'd want me to call. I've been aggressive. I've shown that I have something. If he's going to bet here, this just doesn't make sense. And so I ended up, the thing that really got it for me is in a couple of hands previously, I had kind of been like asking him questions in the hand. And like, at this point I was like, what other question that can I ask then? If I fold, will you show me your hand? And he didn't say anything. In fact, he actually started like, sweating a little bit. Yeah. Like
to cover up.
Conceal his face, looking down, looking a little nervous, earphones still out. So I ended up making the call. And it turns out that I did have the best hand in my.
I knew you spoiled it. I wanted Ryan.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm assuming Ryan knew the results of this hand.
Yeah.
But I also was gonna say call and was gonna run some math on it too. But yeah. I love the call.
Yeah.
His story just absolutely did not make sense. And while he has a lot more 8-9s or 10 jacks, when the flush draw comes on the turn, I think you look pretty strong from your sizings. Pre-flop, flop was a big sizing and turn. So yeah, you might fold an overpair here. Yeah, it's a sick call. It did not make sense at all. And yeah, I love the call and that nice call. Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Ryan's not making this call.
It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing to hear about live tells. Because I'm saying online, I'm folding here. I'm just going, oh crap, God. Yep. I'd probably just click fold before I really think about it.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if it's just the live aspect or maybe you're just better than I am, but the fact that you thought about this and put in the call is really smart.
In a side and kind of talking about myself, but a player read the shit out of me in the tournament. There were 4 to a flush, and I bet like 10K into 15K on the river, and it didn't make sense because I checked back turn, and if I had a high spade, I probably would have bet it. Right. And I bet because I knew he didn't have a spade. The dude had like and he called me with a straight when I bet 10K into 15K when we were only playing about 160K stacks. It's a pretty decent sized bet. Yeah. But he's just like, bro, why are you so nervous? And you normally aren't supposed to respond, but I'm pretty confident in my table talk. I was like, it's a lot of money, man. Like, what do you expect? And then like 20 seconds, I just like call. I'm like, yeah. And then he was trying to give me advice. He thought I was an idiot. I was like, dude, I know what I'm doing, buddy. But yeah. Anyways, this is a very good call. I am sorry that you have had to deal with many creeps at the casino. Right. Probably will not stop. But keep making amazing calls. Keep being aggressive, and I'm excited to see where your poker journey takes you. We've absolutely loved your energy. Thank you for coming on to today's podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be around.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you.
All right, you have a good night.
You too.
Bye. So we have 2 more hands for you guys. That was an amazing guest. This has been a good kickstart to Women's Month. Apologize for the lateness as we are 17 days into the month and this is our first episode. But this next hand, I was playing a 1K tournament. And this is not a fun hand. Some of the bet sizings, stack size might be a little off, but the gist is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So the main raise sizing here had been about min raising, but I'm kind of by the philosophy of going 2.1, 2.2. just cause a lot of the online crushers love the 2.1x.
Right.
But yeah, I like to go for, I believe, 3,400, which is pretty standard, obviously. And I get a call from the either cutoff or button, and then one of the blinds. Button and the big blind. Yeah. And then the flop comes like ace. Yeah. Ace, deuce, 4, 2 hearts. Obviously a pretty good flop. Definitely going to look to bet it. So it checks to us, and I think I size a little under half pot, which I think is fine. While there's a flush draw, the only things that are going to call me are set of deuces, set of fours, any ace or any flush draw. So I don't think you have to go massively. I think you can go a little bigger considering there are 3 people in the hand. But I think the sizing's okay, as I have every intention to size up the vast majority of turns to price out the flush draw. So
we're not going to go small. We're going to go small.
Yeah. So I think the sizing is fine. I think you could go a little bigger, maybe like 61, 6,200, whatever. But I like my sizing. Button decides to call, and the big blind folds.
So when the button calls here on ace deuce 4 with only 13 bigs back, obviously just a little bit less than pop.
I think he has a hand like ace 3, ace 5, ace 10, ace jack, or any flush draw. I actually think
the same way.
Yeah.
There's no I really don't think he's even get a flat here with like medium pocket pairs. Like
or a hand like 4 or 5 of clubs or something. I just don't think is calling me pre-flop. And this villain, we did have history because he jammed 10 jack suited for like 8. Well, that's not much history at all. Never mind. This player was pretty solid, leaning on the nitty side.
Okay.
So I don't need to go into details. But yeah, the turn is probably the worst card in the world. Yeah. I check, and he rips it. My initial reaction is just fold, always fold. That's definitely not the right answer. But I was just like, he fucking has it. He's been nitty. He hasn't been playing many hands at all. But I was like, literally, if he had any ace, if he had ace 10, ace jack, ace anything with a heart, he needs to jam here. If he has ace 10 with a heart, because he can put pressure on ace kings, ace queens, ace jacks offsuit. But I just think he has too many ace deuce, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, and just too many flushes. I think his value range just absolutely smashes how many bluffs he has here. Can he have bluffs here? Absolutely. I just think that this is too value heavy. And I don't expect him to have many 5s here. Yeah, he has ace 5. But I actually think ace 5, if he really wanted to, could just put it in on the flop, considering he doesn't have that much behind. And he doesn't want, if I was on a flush draw, to get there. So I just think he has just a ton of flushes here. And if I had a hand like ace queen with the queen of hearts, obviously I'm snapping him off. But yeah, I just think I have to fold. I could be dead. Like, I'm probably dead.
You're either dead or dang close to it, right? Yeah. Or drawing to a non-heart queen.
I just don't think I can call here. And it sucks, but
let us know in the comment section below, by the way, if you think this is too nitty of a fold. If you think you're snapping.
What do you think, Ryan? I'm pretty sure you're by the philosophy I made the right fold.
Yeah, but especially with short stack villains and MTTs, we're still a good distance away from the money. And even though we're a good distance away from the money, I just still agree with you entirely that you aren't good here enough to justify a call, even though it's like a full pot shove. So really you need to be good here like 33% of the time or have 33% equity, and you don't have that because you're either dead or drawing to a queen or
just a horrible turn, because I'm pricing him in to either go all in or fold on the turn. And if he puts his money in with a flush, awesome. If he has ace deuce, ace 4, good for you, man.
If this is the 3 of spades, do you call?
Yeah, I put it in.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I mean,
he has ace deuces, ace 3s, ace 4, but he also has 10 jack, and he also has heart draw.
King jack.
Too many. He has too many. He's got too many hands that he can call with. So yeah, I'm putting it in. But yeah, we have one more hand for you guys. While Ryan is fast. Never mind. I don't even need to do it. I don't know whose hand this is. I have not looked at it. I'm excited for it.
An online forum that I was on. This is a 1-2 online hand, like a 200 zoom.
Okay.
It takes an interesting line here with ace king. So folds to hijack, opens to 5.
We're gonna make it like 17, 18.
17. Oh, 3 and a little bit while you're in position.
I like it. I
like that.
No need to go 4, and you're on the button, so you want to make it a little sus, so you bump it up a little bit. I like it. I'm on board. We get flatted, I'm sure. Oh, what the okay.
So villain
I
throws
mean,
4-bet.
I'm fine just calling here. I mean, we can raise sometimes the villain dependent, but call's fine too.
Yeah, that was one of the interesting parts about the comment section for this specific hand, is that there were some people who were like, it's because it's offsuit, you should jam this 100% of the time. And I was like, no, no, I don't think so. But yeah, exactly. I think you can find a flat here as more often, or I don't want to say more often, but you can find flats here plenty. You can 5-bet jam this sometimes for sure. You have ace king, but you shouldn't be 5-bet jamming this 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Here we go. So we do decide on just a flat. Jack 10-8. We got a gutter ball plus 2 overs. No backdoor flush draw. Hijack checks to us.
I'm checking. I'm not playing games.
4-bet pot specifically like this, where we're the flatter.
He's not folding.
But there was an interesting argument made where, as the button 3-better who flats the 4-bet, that you have all the combinations of jacks, 10s, and 8s. And I thought that was an interesting argument.
He's not okay. What do we think he has? The best case scenario, he has a hand like ace queen that'll fold. But if it's ace queen, we don't block clubs, we don't block spades. If he has ace queen suited, I don't think he's doing this with ace queen offsuit very often. So like, I think the lower end of his range is like ace queen,
right?
Suited, which either has backdoor equity or flop the flush draw, and it's just not going anywhere. If he has pocket 9s, he's open ended, not folding. If he has pocket jacks, pocket 10s, pocket 8s, we're screwed. And if he has pocket aces or pocket kings, I think he's checking for pot control, but he's not going to fold. So if we bet, like I just don't see him folding, and I think we just check and try to realize equity with banking at ace king or queen. I do not think.
That commenter also fails to realize that in late position versus late position, you expect people to have wider 3-betting ranges. So if the buttons can have a wider 3-betting range against the hijack open, if the hijack doesn't have a wider 4-betting range against that, then you're losing money.
Yeah, he absolutely still can have like the ace wheel aces, but we also block that. It's for sure. And I just don't think we should be betting here because I don't see him folding here very often.
Right. And our barrel ability on turns is basically just hitting a non-club queen. So it's
if he's got wheel ace deuce or ace 5 of hearts, like he's gonna fold, but like how many of those does he have?
Right. And hero does opt to check back.
The answer is 5.
Turn comes blank.
So now if he checks, I mean, we can think about it, but again, I just don't think he's folding.
What do you think?
And what do we think? I don't think he's 4-betting like 6s or 7s or whatever that is. And if he has ace a wheel ace, like we're still ahead. We can still be ahead of him. There's no purpose in betting if we don't think he's gonna fold. And I think there's no way he folds 9s. I mean, now if he has like ace queen of spades or whatever, he might fold. But still, like you can still potentially call that. I mean, depending on our sizing. So unless we just like rip it in here, I don't like a bet.
That's interesting. Yeah, especially considering the stack sizes are getting awkward here. Like, what would you bet? You know, like you have.
Yeah, are you gonna bet 30 and then he just rips it in your face and you fold?
Because
if he has like ace x of clubs, I mean, he can turn that into a bluff, or not even a bluff. I mean,
right. I guess you could do 2 barrels by now, betting like 13 and then jamming on like overcard rivers, like if you hit a king, an ace, or a queen. But like, that's a lot to ask for.
Yeah, but he still could have. I mean, king 10 suited sometimes.
And
just
doesn't that are just going to call on.
Yeah, like I don't think this is a board in which we should bluff that often. Sure, you could do it sometimes. I'm not saying never bet this ever.
Yep.
I think you should just lean. Yeah.
So
we check back, right? Yeah, yes, I think that's the right check.
And I think that's the right check too. River 9.
This is interesting. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? Interesting. I think we have more ace queens than he does. And if he had ace queen of clubs, we block ace queen of diamonds. There's not that he could have king queen. This is so weird.
Right, I think you're gonna like this.
This is I agree. We have 100%. I agree.
Yeah, and even he was like, "Is this?"
We have more king queens and ace queen. I don't. I love it. I don't really like a. But we have like, and if he has a set now, are you really going to go check bet when there's 4 to a straight? You don't have queen king here often at all. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have it sometimes, but like we have it way more than you do. Why are you betting this river?
4 better. I totally agree with you there.
I just think the issue is, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure. But I think he's going to fold. And it's interesting. He asked if it's because I'm not sure he would ask it. I'm afraid he's going to call, but I don't think he will very often.
No. And I
Fold.
think Vaughn does
Fold.
put in the fold. Yeah.
I like it. I like the line.
is really just the logic there that when it goes check, small bet on that river there. I mean, I guess this is a super unique scenario because it's a 4-bet pot where it goes check on Jack 10-8 with a flush draw.
And then we get a jam in on the river.
Yeah, right. Like this is kind of a very unique scenario, but I like the bluff. And just like you said, we have all the combinations of king, queen, and ace, queen, not to mention Jack 10s and 8s. Wow. I would imagine maybe even hijack had a hand like 8s and just basically value owned himself here.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what he thought in his mind when he bet this and got jammed on. He's like, oh crap, I have 8s that I just bet into king queen that got there.
Yeah.
So really, that was creative. I love it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this was a really fun episode. It feels good to be back, and I'm excited for our next 3 female guests. Thankfully, I think we have a podcast tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, dude. We got Caitlin.
Yeah, so you guys tune in
yeah.
same time tomorrow. Very excited. She's a Texas crusher.
High-stakes player.
Yeah, high stakes player. Very excited to have her on and hopefully meet her in the coming weeks once everyone's got Powher back. But thank you so much to our guest. It was so fun having you on. I think your energy was probably the best of anybody's. Love your passion. Thank you so much, and cannot wait to see what you do in the poker world. Yeah. But without further ado, we will see you guys tomorrow night. We do not have histories up for tomorrow, so still send those in. Smash the like and subscribe button. Exactly. So thank you guys again for another great podcast.